Welcome to the Short Movie Channel. Today's film begins in the near future, specifically in 2027. We also learn that a pandemic has spread across the world, and as a result of this pandemic, all women have become infertile, meaning they can't have children at all. The last child born in this world was 18 years ago. Despite the repeated efforts of scientists and doctors to solve this problem, they sadly couldn't determine the cause of the pandemic or find a cure for it. Because of this, humanity is on the verge of extinction, as if they are taking their last breaths. As the crisis deepens, the world is on the brink of collapse, and chaos has spread nearly everywhere. Entire continents and countries have been destroyed, such as Africa, for example. Additionally, the number of illegal refugees has increased, with many constantly migrating to stable and wealthy countries, like England and others. Unfortunately, these countries have started dealing with the refugees violently in an attempt to curb this phenomenon. Among these countries, England stands out, as the events of the film take place there. The police have gained complete control over the population, spreading throughout the country to restore order and manage the illegal refugees. The scene shifts to a cafe in England, where the sad news is broadcast about the death of Diego, the youngest citizen in the world and the last child born 18 years ago. His death spreads quickly, and everyone is deeply saddened by the loss. In the cafe, we meet a character named Theo, who seems completely indifferent to the news that has affected everyone. Calmly, Theo takes his coffee and leaves the cafe. After a short while, the cafe explodes, and everyone inside is killed. We later learn that such terrorist operations have become common in England recently, carried out by gangs and armed groups, including one called the names Mac. However, Theo shows no concern for the incident and heads to his job, where he works as a detective. That day, Theo doesn't stay at work for long. He leaves early to meet his friend, Jasper. Theo and Jasper head to a secret house where Jasper lives with his wife, Jans, who is very ill and unable to move, speak, or do anything. Jasper and Jans live in complete isolation, where they grow a specific plant used to make drugs. This explains why they are living in such a secret place. Theo spends the day with Jasper and his wife, then leaves afterward. The next morning, Theo was heading to work as usual. Suddenly, a group of armed men appeared and kidnapped him, taking him to a secret location. There, they introduced themselves as the Fishes, and their leader turned out to be Julian, Theo's ex-wife. This shocked Theo greatly, especially when he learned that Julian was his former spouse and that they had once had a child. Tragically, their child had died 20 years earlier due to the avian flu epidemic at the time. Following their loss, the couple separated and hadn't seen each other since. Julian and the members of the group explained to Theo that they weren't terrorists but were fighting to change the government's oppressive policies and to ensure justice for both citizens and refugees. They revealed that they had kidnapped him because they needed his help with a specific mission. However, Theo refused, believing they were extremists. Julian reassured him that they weren't responsible for the cafe bombing and asked him to do a simple favor: forge identification papers for an undocumented refugee named Key, so she could live safely in England. Despite his reservations, Theo reluctantly agreed. Theo then visited a relative of his who held a significant position and asked him to forge the documents for Key. His relative agreed but stipulated that Theo must stay with Key throughout her stay in England to ensure she didn't cause any trouble. After securing the documents, Theo returned to inform Julian, who was accompanied by her assistant Luke, the refugee Key, and another woman named Miriam. Miriam acted as a caretaker and mother figure to Key, having raised her since childhood. The group set off in a vehicle towards southern England, seeking a safe haven. On the way, they were ambushed by a gang of armed attackers. Luke tried to evade them, but one of the attackers shot Julian, killing her instantly in a heartbreaking scene. Luke managed to escape with the group, and they found temporary safety. Along the way, however, they were stopped by police, who demanded their identification. Fearing Key's identity would be exposed, Luke quickly killed one of the officers and fled the scene. Eventually, the group reached a safe house in the countryside, a farm that served as a hideout for the Fishes. While there, Theo spoke privately with Key and told her he had completed his mission and would now return to his normal life, leaving her in the care of the group. Key, remembering Julian's advice to trust no one but Theo, asked him to stay with her. To convince him, Key revealed her secret: she was pregnant, making her the first woman to conceive in 18 years. This revelation deeply moved Theo, and he decided to help her escape England safely, as Julian had wanted. Shortly after, Luke and other members of the group discovered Key's pregnancy. They promised to keep her secret safe. Theo suggested announcing Key's pregnancy to the public, hoping it could inspire solutions to the infertility crisis. However, the group strongly opposed the idea, fearing Key's status as an undocumented refugee would bring government persecution. When asked what she wanted, Key declared her decision to stay in England with the Fishes, who could protect and care for her. Everyone agreed with her choice, deciding to remain at the farm to ensure her safety and well-being. At night, Theo went to sleep as usual, but he woke up to a strange noise. He decided to check it out, and discovered 2 injured men arriving at the hideout. These 2 men sat with Luke and the rest of the gang. It was then that Theo realized these men were part of the group responsible for killing Julian. He also found out that Luke was the one who ordered the killing and had paid the gang that assisted them, all to seize leadership of the group after Julian's death. Theo was terrified when he learned that the group was planning to kill him the next day. Their plan involved handing Key over to the government and gaining massive benefits in return. Hearing this, Theo rushed to Key and Miriam, insisting they needed to escape immediately. After explaining everything, they all decided to flee together. Theo began by sabotaging all of the gang's cars except one, which he used to escape with Key and Miriam. This ensured the gang wouldn't be able to pursue them easily. After fleeing, Theo took them to Jasper's house, believing it to be a safe place far from the gang's reach. Once there, Theo told Jasper everything that had happened. When Jasper learned that Key was pregnant, he softened and eagerly agreed to help. Jasper proposed a new plan. He informed them about a ship belonging to an organization called the Human Project. This group of scientists and doctors would help Key and study her condition to solve the infertility crisis affecting women, without exploiting her. Key agreed to the plan, and they decided to meet the ship the next day. However, the problem arose when the fish group tracked down Jasper's house. Jasper quickly instructed Theo, Key, and Miriam to escape immediately. He also directed Theo to a man named Sid, who would help them reach the ship. Theo agreed without hesitation and bid Jasper a heartfelt goodbye. From a distance, Theo and the others watched as the gang broke into Jasper's house. They interrogated Jasper about Key's location, but he refused to reveal anything. Left with no other option, the gang killed him. Theo was devastated and felt guilty, believing his actions had caused the death of his lifelong friend. Despite his grief, Theo pressed on with Miriam and Key. They reached an abandoned school where they met Sid. It turned out that Sid worked as an officer in the illegal immigration department. Sid explained his plan to save them. He would arrest them as illegal immigrants and pretend to deport them, but in reality, he would deliver them to the Human Project. Everyone quickly agreed to the plan. Sid took them to a detention camp for illegal immigrants, pretending he had apprehended them. Inside the camp, Theo and his group witnessed the cruel treatment of refugees by the officers, who killed them mercilessly. This horrified them, but Sid managed to get them onto a bus meant to transport refugees to the ship. During the journey, Key began experiencing severe labor pains. Miriam, who had been an obstetrician before the epidemic, did her best to assist her. At one point, the bus stopped at a checkpoint, and an officer from the immigration department boarded to inspect the passengers. The officer noticed that Key looked very unwell and began questioning her. This made Miriam panic, fearing their secret would be exposed. To distract the officer, Miriam started an argument with him, drawing his attention away from Key. The officer became enraged and arrested Miriam, taking her off the bus. Fortunately, no one realized that Key was pregnant. The bus continued its journey until it reached the city where they were supposed to wait for the Human Project's ship. During their journey, they meet a woman named Mrshka, who takes them to a safe house where they can stay until the ship arrives. While Theo and Key are at the house, Key starts feeling unwell as she's about to give birth. Theo helps her, and after a lot of struggle, Key finally gives birth to a beautiful baby girl. The next day, Mishka and Sid inform Theo and Key that they must leave immediately because the fish group has reached the city, and the police are also there to fight and cleanse the area. The group acts quickly and leaves as planned. On their way, Sid reveals his betrayal, pulling out a gun and attempting to capture Key and her baby to hand them over to the government in exchange for a large sum of money. However, Mishka and the others overpower him, allowing them to escape. After hiding the baby securely, they continue their journey. Theo, Mishka, and Key move through the streets amidst protests against the police. Thanks to the chaos, no one notices them, and they safely reach Mishka's family home. The family is incredibly kind and does everything they can to assist them. They promise to help Key and her baby reach the Human Project ship using their own boat. After some time, Theo, Mishka, Key, the baby, and one of Mishka's relatives set out for the ship. However, the streets are in complete disarray due to the battle between the police and the fish group. Amid the chaos, the fish gang captures them and kills Mishka's poor relative, who was trying to help. The police then attack the gang, creating an opportunity for Key and her baby to escape. Meanwhile, Theo and Mishka also flee but end up getting separated. Undeterred, Theo continues his mission to save Key and her baby. He makes his way to the building where the fish gang is holding them. Inside, Theo finds Key and her baby terrified amidst the dead and injured members of the gang. Luke, the gang's leader, is fiercely firing at the police to prevent them from storming the building. Taking advantage of the situation, Theo sneaks Key and her baby out. Unfortunately, Luke notices them and begins shooting. Thankfully, a stray bullet hits Luke, killing him and allowing Theo, Key, and the baby to escape. As they walk through the city, people are mesmerized by the sight of the baby, as it's the first newborn they've seen in 18 years. Even a soldier orders a ceasefire upon seeing the baby, allowing them to safely leave the area. After exiting the building, the police resume bombing the location, but Theo, Key, and the baby have already made it out unharmed. The group reunites with Mishka, who is overjoyed to see them safe. Without wasting time, she takes them to the harbor, where they board a boat to reach the Human Project ship. During the journey, Key feels anxious and doubts whether the ship even exists. Theo reassures her, but Key notices that Theo has been injured by a gunshot, something he had hidden from her. In his final moments, Theo is overcome with joy, knowing he has saved Key and her baby and helped humanity in its fight against infertility. Key, deeply moved, promises to name her baby Dylan, after Theo's late son and Julian's child. Theo smiles at Key and the baby one last time before quietly passing away. At that moment, the Human Project ship arrives, spotting Key and her baby on the boat. They celebrate their arrival and take them aboard. Theo's promise is fulfilled. Key and her baby are now safe, and his final act in life becomes a beacon of hope for humanity. And this concludes today's movie. We hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and support us.